Tonight, a shooting rampage at Auburn. One man dead, another injured, a couple lucky to be alive. Jetstar passengers take on the airline in a huge class action for cancelling flights. No more blustering and bumbling. The Obamas deliver a call to action to defeat Donald Trump. The US backpacker bound for clown school, now possibly jail, over a golden gun at Sydney Airport. And Rugby League's newest Immortal, we're live to the NRL's Hall of Fame ceremony.
This is 9 News with Peter Overton.
Good evening. An elderly couple has narrowly escaped being killed by their son-in-law, who opened fire on their Auburn home where his ex-wife and children were seeking refuge. His rampage didn't end there. The 50-year-old then tried to carjack a woman before shooting a father in the shoulder.
Police respond to a mother and her 2 children sheltering inside an Auburn home after her husband, their father, came knocking, smashing a window before targeting his in-laws.
He has attempted to fire a shot at effectively the father of our victim and another shot towards the mother of the victim.
Only weeks ago, the family fled Victoria, seeking refuge from the 50-year-old, but the woman's husband of 23 years hunted them down.
The male became enraged. I'm very thankful that we are not looking at another tragic domestic violence homicide.
Taking off, he then directed his rage at innocent drivers, attempting 2 carjackings, opening fire in one.
Being driven by a male in his mid-50s and at the time had his 15-year-old daughter in the front passenger seat. A shot has been fired into the car through the driver's window, impacting the right shoulder and facial area of the driver.
4 hours later, police investigating the shootings discover a body on the banks of Auburn's Duck River. The 50-year-old offender had taken his own life. The gun found nearby.
I saw the lights in there and it stopped and says it's quarantine here. I was just like, why? What for?
Too shaken to speak on camera today, the Fernandez family has told 9 News we're numb, and it's a miracle no one was hurt. One member saying she thought she was about to lose half her family. The family today left picking up the pieces. A domestic violence tragedy narrowly avoided, but tonight children still left without a father. In Auburn, Madison Scott, 9 News.
And if you or anyone you know is a victim of domestic violence, call 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732. A major class action against Jetstar could force the airline to refund hundreds of millions of dollars to customers. The budget carrier is accused of refusing to refund tickets for cancelled flights during COVID, instead issuing travel credits to the frustration of would-be flyers.
When Jetstar cancelled flights during the COVID pandemic, customers were given travel credits. A class action lodged in the federal court alleges the airline did the wrong thing.
The correct thing for them to do under the law was to give people's money back. What they chose to do was to put profits ahead of their customers, hold on to that money to try to protect the airline at the expense of ordinary people.
Yamur Siddiqui suffered when Jetstar cancelled multiple flights.
At the time I was struggling and I needed the money for other things. So I was a bit sort of stuck with that sort of money, and in order to use Jetstar again, I wasn't particularly wanting to use Jetstar again. So that kind of made me feel like held in ransom.
Melbourne-based Echo Law claims hundreds of thousands of people were affected.
You have to also put yourself back in the mindset of 2020 to 2022. Who, sitting at home during lockdown, wanted a travel credit rather than money they could use for something at that very desperate time?
The class action also alleges Jetstar profited by holding on to hundreds of millions of dollars of customer payments, earning interest and reducing borrowing costs. In other words, as customers sat at home, Jetstar was making a windfall. Jetstar has responded with a statement. We'll review the claims filed in the class action this morning. Last year, we removed expiry dates for COVID vouchers so they can be used indefinitely. In May this year, Qantas reached a $120 million settlement with the ACCC over the Ghost Flights fiasco, selling tickets for flights that had already been cancelled. The Jetstar class action, another big threat to its bottom line. Mark Burrows, 9 News.
It can often feel like a rare thing in politics these days, but bipartisanship was on full display in Canberra today. The government and opposition negotiating to deliver on major reform that will transform the NDIS and how aged care is delivered.
In the People's House, Aged Care Minister Danika crossing the floor for a front bench face-to-face. A chat of minutes, finalising an aged care plan years in the making and decades in implementation.
I don't think it'll be any surprise that we will need to invest more in aged care.
And with an ageing population living longer, Australians heading into aged care will pay more as well. Expect prices to rise for pensioners, not just self-funded retirees, with incentives to receive care and assistance in your own home before entering aged care facilities.
Good morning, everybody. We're good to go?
2 floors above, another deal.
These are the first and most significant co-governance changes since the inception of the scheme a decade ago.
The government, opposition and states set to sign off on reform of the NDIS. Among the changes, more clearly defined services accessible under the scheme, increased powers of investigation and restrictions on participants topping up their plan.
For people with disability and their families, it all works better when you don't have the feds and the states arguing.
The agreement will also help the bottom line, with the cost for the last financial year $600 million under the forecast, while savings from the reform estimated at $59 billion over 7 years.
Cut from the supports and services that disabled people and our families need to live, to be safe, to be healthy.
In Sydney, this demonstration from frontline NDIS workers against rorts and rip-offs leaving staff underpaid.
Players right every day.
Tonight, the government arguing a register of providers will prevent scams in the scheme.
Sustainability has prompted the changes in the disability, aged care and construction sectors. 3 times this week, the major parties producing major reform through compromise. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
Police are investigating whether the death of a cleaner in Cabramatta was caused by a toxic mix of chemicals he was using. Police found the 50-year-old man's body in a unit block on St John's Road at 9:45 last night. With hazmat crews quickly called in, the death isn't being treated as suspicious. Michelle and Barack Obama have called on American voters to act during rousing back-to-back speeches at the Democratic Convention. The power couple throwing their political weight behind Kamala Harris, the party hopeful this momentum can carry them through to November.
The Democratic Convention turned dance party.
The Democratic National Convention roll call!
Lil Jon changed his lyrics.
DNC, turn out for what?
For a ceremonial roll call.
California, we proudly cast our 482 votes for the next president, Kamala Harris.
The woman of the moment beamed in from Wisconsin.
I'm a riot through your borders. Call me bulletproof. Together, we will chart a new way forward.
But the night belonged to 2 of the Democrats' biggest stars.
America, hope is making a comeback.
Hope's contagious power spurring the former First Lady to deliver this call to action.
We've got to do something. If we start feeling tired, if we start feeling that dread creeping back in, we got to pick ourselves up, throw water on our face, and what?
And launching a powerful takedown of Donald Trump.
Who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs?
With the unenviable task of following his wife, the first black president made the case for the first female.
We do not need 4 more years of bluster and bumbling and chaos. We have seen that movie before, and we all know that the sequel is usually worse.
All with the promise of building a better America.
That is more secure and more just, more equal and more free. So let's get to work.
Democrats want the mood in this room tonight to become a movement across the United States of America. For the Obamas are now set to make campaign stops right across the country to help Kamala Harris become America's Commander-in-Chief.
My girl, Kamala Harris, us is more than ready for this moment.
In Chicago, Jonathan Kersley, 9 News.
The show of unity inside the Democratic Convention was a sharp contrast to the scenes outside. At least 72 people have been arrested in Chicago after police and protesters came to blows on the streets. The pro-Palestinian demonstrators rallied in front of the Israeli consulate, the situation turning violent within minutes. A man is in custody tonight after allegedly approaching a vulnerable young boy and sexually assaulting him at knife point in Sydney's West. 9 News reporter James Wilson is in Mount Druitt at Town Reserve. James, police have charged a man.
Pete, police have named this man as Malik Bilal Ahmad. He's a 33-year-old father of 3 from Mount Druitt. It was around 1 a.m. last Thursday. He's accused of approaching a 13-year-old boy at Mount Druitt train station, where he allegedly then drove him in a van to a nearby reserve and sexually assaulted him at knife point. Now, that boy managed to alert police following this incident, which led detectives on a week-long investigation, culminating in Ahmad's arrest overnight. He faced court today, supported by his wife and other relatives, where he was refused bail. Pete, police are now using this opportunity to appeal to the community. They believe that there could be other victims out there and want to ask community members, particularly young children, if they've seen this white van. It's described as a 2024 white Toyota Hiace with dark tints on the window.
We appeal for any young kids, vulnerable kids, who have been exploited, approached or taken advantage of in the community. Come forward and we will treat them with the utmost respect.
In court today, prosecutors said this was a strong case. It involves CCTV as well as DNA evidence. Ahmed will reappear in court in October. Pete.
OK, James, thank you. After seeking legal advice, the New South Wales Liberal Party will not be taking any action against the Electoral Commission over the council nomination bungle. The party confirming the decision in a statement today. The State President Don Harwin faces increasing pressure to step down. First home buyers across Sydney's west and southwest have been revealed as the big winners from the state government's expanded stamp duty relief. But the Premier admits only building more homes will help those wanting to live closer to the city get on the ladder.
The suburban dream slipping through the fingers of thousands of Sydneysiders. Chris Minns is on a mission to fix that.
We're losing twice as many young people as we're gaining. We're seeing the potential of living in a city without grandchildren.
Spruiking the success of the First Home Buyers Assistance Program.
Any first home buyer who's purchasing a property of up to $800,000 pays no stamp duty, and people who are paying up to $1 million get a reduced rate.
Over the last year, 33,365 first home buyers accessed the revamped scheme, more than 12,500 of those in our western suburbs, saving on average around $20,000. Almost 4,000 across the Cumberland and Blacktown LGAs, 1,700 in Parramatta, more than 1,300 in Penrith and Canterbury Bankstown, and 1,100 across Campbelltown. The biggest increase in recipients in Camden, jumping 110%. But it's out of reach for many. The median house price across the city just shy of $1.5 million. CoreLogic estimates only 5% of houses qualify.
If people want to utilise these grants close to the city, they've basically got no choice but to look to the apartment market. So the future for first home buyers, at least in the short run, might be a compromise on space.
Even here in Camden, you're hard-pressed finding anything but a small townhouse under $1 million. And even then, they don't last long. Driving pressure to lift that cap.
We'll look at market conditions as we go forward.
But ultimately, more supply is the silver bullet the Premier hopes will bring prices down. In Camden, Sophie Upcroft, 9 News.
2 emails could have prevented the 2022 massacre at Weambilla, according to Queensland Police. The acting sergeant on duty at the time of the attack telling a coronial inquest today he would not have sent 4 officers to the property if he had known about threatening emails sent to New South Wales Police days before the attack. The full file on the Train family was not transferred to Queensland. A trial date has been set for accused triple murderer Erin Patterson. The 49-year-old will be tried in April next year in the Latrobe Valley in Victoria's Gippsland region. She's accused of serving a deadly mushroom meal to her former relatives in 2023, along with 5 counts of attempted murder. As we've already seen tonight, the scourge of domestic violence is never far away from the headlines. And in the nation's capital today, the first annual report card into Australia's plan to tackle it was delivered. The message was blunt: men need to help make change happen.
More than just a moment, it became a movement and now demands to seize the momentum.
All of us have more to do. All of us must do better. Together we can, we must and we will. The time is now.
The first chance to see how Australia is tracking on the national plan to end violence against women and children.
We need to be having very different conversations with men. Unless we start doing that, we're not keeping women safe.
Of the 5 key findings, 2 focus on perpetrators, recommending more support for men with concerning behaviour, as well as more engagement and intervention for those who use violence. Also calling for more sustainable funding for refuges and sexual assault services, and extra training for staff from healthcare to teaching, social work and lawyers. The last finding recognises the difficulty of measuring progress due to the lack of available data. Less than half of the goals can be measured, and the report urges all governments to help provide more information as a priority.
We need standards, we need consistent practice, we need data that tells us more.
Also desperately needed input from offenders as to why they turn to violence.
We are watching a generation grow up with access to online misogyny, pornography, hate speak in a way that we've never seen before.
I think that this is a whole of society issue, but I think that men need to make this their issue.
A plan in progress with a push for more action.
We have to do better.
Claudia Radoljak, 9 News.
The greatest rugby league players the game has ever seen are right now descending on the Sydney Cricket Ground for the NRL's Hall of Fame ceremony. Zach Bailey is on the black carpet for us tonight. Zach, one of them will earn the honour of becoming an immortal.
They certainly will, Pete. This is an historic night for rugby league with 25 former players, coaches, referees and contributors inducted into the Hall of Fame before all of our attention turns to the Immortal announcement. For the first time since 2018, an Immortal will be unveiled, and tonight's inductee or inductees will join just 13 other legends of rugby league, considered the best of the best from the game's 116-year history. Among the leading contenders vying for rugby league's highest individual honour are the likes of Cameron Smith, Ron Coote, Darren Lockyer, Alan Langer and Peter Sterling. And Pete, the good news is I'll be back a little later in sport with one of the contenders who may just walk away as rugby league's latest immortal.
Terrific, Zach. Thank you so much. Time for our first check of the day's weather. Good evening, Sophie.
Good evening, Pete. With just a week and a half till spring, we got a little taste today. Northwesterly winds pushing temperatures almost 10 degrees above average. It was particularly noticeable this morning. You barely needed a jumper. The city falling to a very mild low of 15.5 degrees before climbing to 26 degrees just after 3. The western suburbs drenched in sunshine as well, nudged 26 degrees. Tomorrow will be slightly cooler with more clouds and potentially a few drops in the morning. I'll have those details in the forecast, Pete.
Thank you, Sophie. Stabbed but incredibly now smiling. The New South Wales schoolgirl attacked while holidaying in London returns home. Her harrowing message is next. Also, an armed gang storms a Smithfield home with children inside. A Lamborghini, Harley Davidson, Rolex watches. Quite the collection for a bloke on unemployment benefits. See police pounce at Parramatta. Amazon delivery hits the fast lane. How you can now get your purchase that same day. How a pair of missing scissors led to nearly 250 flights being delayed or cancelled. Safe and back home, 11-year-old Layla Johnson, who survived being stabbed multiple times while holidaying in London. The schoolgirl from Candelo near Bega did not let the attack stop her from going to that dream concert she'd crossed the world for. Today, talking to the Daily Telegraph about her date with Taylor Swift.
My friend Chris and Carly, they came with us to Taylor Swift for work, and they had a great time, but they also made me feel more safe there. It was amazing. Some people organised us to go in a VIP box, and there was food being served and a private toilet, which was very exciting.
Her alleged attacker has been charged with attempted murder. A Lamborghini, Harley-Davidson, Rolex watches are things you normally associate with a lotto win, not unemployment benefits. Well, police investigating unexplained wealth have seized those items worth more than $500,000 from a Parramatta unit and charged a man they say has been claiming benefits since 2019. He'll face court in October. Police are calling on the public to help find 6 armed men who stormed a Smithfield family home with 2 children inside. A 51-year-old man was threatened and assaulted in what detectives say was a targeted attack.
It looks like your average Tuesday night on the Horsley Drive. 2 utes turn into a driveway and park, but what follows is a terrifying ambush. 6 hooded men jump out, armed with 3 guns. They break down the door before storming in one by one.
I would be terrified if it happened to me.
Then, less than 20 minutes later, they race back out. Inside the home at the time, a 51-year-old man, his 2 daughters and 2 boys aged 6 and 4, all held at gunpoint.
This is something that we understand to be a targeted attack.
Their target, the granddad, who was struck several times and taken to Liverpool Hospital.
We're very thankful on this occasion that the children weren't physically harmed.
Police still don't know exactly why this home was targeted or what these men were after, but one line of inquiry is drugs may have been involved.
I'm shocked because if they're good men, never any problems.
The gang tonight remains on the run. In Smithfield, Massilia Eiley, 9 News.
At least 52 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza in the past 24 hours, including 12 at a school turned shelter. It comes as the US Secretary of State ended his Middle East tour, with the ceasefire agreement seeming as elusive as ever. Hamas accusing America of including new conditions from Israel in their latest proposal. The US President has approved a highly classified plan that refocuses the country's nuclear strategy. According to a report in the New York Times, it orders US forces to prepare for the possibility of coordinated nuclear confrontations with Russia, China and North Korea. A new video has been unearthed showing Donald Trump's would-be assassin around an hour and a half before he shot at the former president. This is the earliest known footage of Thomas Crooks at the Butler rally ground. He would go on to climb onto a rooftop and fire 8 shots, killing a spectator. Sydney is the first city in Australia to get free same-day delivery with Amazon. Fast bowler Mitchell Starc helping launch the fast-track service, which will reach 90% of Sydney's population. You need to be a Prime customer to qualify, spend more than $49 and order by midday. The United States backpacker who moved here to go to clown school but could instead go to jail. It's no laughing matter. Liliana arrived armed with a golden gun in her luggage. Hear why next. New details on a Burwood murder 9 days after the bodies of 2 students were found in a unit block. King Charles on a healing mission to the English town, torn apart by a dance class ambush. And the special goodbye that brought together these 2 beauties on Sydney Harbour.
9 News, brought to you by Tucson Hybrid by Hyundai. Ever driven a better car than yours? Now you can.
The State Coroner has called for an urgent review of laws that allow correctional services officers to carry firearms in her findings into the death of Dwayne Johnston. The 43-year-old was handcuffed and shackled when he was shot in the back while trying to escape correctional officers outside Lismore Hospital in 2019.
I hold no animosity to them for that, but changes have got to happen. So they have to. Please do it. Please do it. So no one else has to go through it.
The coroner said there was confusion in the law and gaps in training on whether officers should consider non-lethal options before opening fire. A university student found stabbed to death inside a Burwood unit earlier this month has been identified as 21-year-old Xiaoting Wang. Her partner is suspected of killing her before taking his own life. King Charles has travelled to the town of Southport, reeling from the murder of 3 young girls at a Taylor Swift-themed dance class. The monarch paying tribute to the victims and meeting with survivors.
As soon as he arrived, it was clear Charles was a very welcome visitor to the town of Southport.
What does it mean for the town to have him here?
Well, it's been really nice for the way our community's kind of come together the past few weeks. So, to have it be so seen around the country it's really lovely.
I think it means a lot, especially to the families who've lost loved ones. It's been very, very sad in Southport. We've been in mourning, really. Yeah, so it's very nice of him to come today, yeah.
And that was reflected in the sea of colour filling the square, honouring 3 young lives brutally cut short. The town's horror last month quickly turned to a nation's shock of a rioting which delayed the King's visit until now.
3 weeks ago, a shocking tragedy struck Southport. Charles then spoke of the need for unity in mourning. Today, he's helping a town come to terms with its grief.
It just shows you that the monarchy does occur in England.
Charles' first official meeting was away from public eyes inside the town hall with some of the girls who survived the stabbings at the Taylor Swift-themed dance class and their families.
I'm sure the families will take some comfort from that, that he's here to see them.
He signed a book of condolences before returning to greet the hundreds waiting outside, many the same age as the victims. From visitor, Charles will return to being host tomorrow at Buckingham Palace. He'll be meeting the families of the girls who died, for whom the tributes keep filling Southport's empty space. In Southport, Brett McLeod, 9 News.
The final seconds before disaster. This security footage shows the moment a super yacht was engulfed by a storm off the coast of Sicily. The vessel quickly sank, 1 body has been found and 6 people are still missing, including British billionaire Mike Lynch. Divers have now managed to smash through a glass window and enter the hull, that is 49 metres below sea level. A missing pair of scissors at an airport in northern Japan has caused 201 flights to be delayed and 36 others cancelled. They'd gone missing in a store near the boarding gates, forcing security checks to be delayed. Eventually, flights resumed and the scissors were found in the same store. The world's oldest known person has died at the age of 117. Maria Brañas Mora was born in the US in 1907, 5 years before the sinking of the Titanic. Living mostly in Spain, she survived 2 pandemics and 2 world wars. Her title now goes to Japan's Tomiko Ituka, who is 116. It's the case of the 24-carat gold-plated gun discovered in an American backpacker's suitcase at Sydney International Airport. Liliana Goodson has spent more than a year fighting firearm smuggling charges. Today, there was a twist in court.
Liliana Goodson left the land of the free only to wind up in handcuffs on her first day down under. Caught with a James Bond-esque 24-carat gold-plated handgun in her luggage when she arrived at Sydney International Airport in May last year. The American student had a permit in the States, but not here, telling Border Force investigators she wanted the pistol for protection. "I am scared of shooting it. I would probably just pistol whip until I got training again." On her incoming passenger card, Goodson declared carrying cat, squirrel and rabbit parts, but there was no mention of the firearm, claiming, "I did not remember, my memory failed me." Phone records later revealing she had Googled, "Can I have a gun in my suitcase?" Goodson moved from the other side of the world to enrol in Sydney's clown school. Instead, she's spent the past year learning about our judicial system. At first she argued it was all a dumb mistake before this afternoon backflipping in court and pleading guilty. Anything to say, Ms Goodson?
No, thank you.
The Florida woman faces up to 2 years behind bars for breaking one of Australia's golden rules. Tiffany Genders, 9 News.
A glimpse of a time gone by on Sydney Harbour today as tall ships glided under the coat hanger and towards the heads. Flanked by our majestic James Craig, Dutch clipper Stad Amsterdam setting sail for Brisbane after a visit to the National Maritime Museum. No more set and regret. How to make sure you're not losing money on your subscriptions. Alcohol bans lifted at some of Sydney's most popular parks. Those stories after sport with Danika, where Rugby League's most exclusive club is about to receive a brand new member.
Yes, it certainly is. Good evening, Pete. There's no higher honour than becoming an immortal, but not everyone is happy ahead of the ceremony. The controversy clouding the decision next. Nicho Hynes is closing in on a return, so what has his Sharks teammates so fired up? Plus, the doping scandal that's rocked the tennis world and divided the players.
And we had a taste of spring today, but next week will feel like summer. Details after sport.
A test that can tell if you're in the dementia danger zone.
We believe that everybody could be at risk.
The result of 10 years of research.
An incredible.
There's no higher honour in rugby league, and tonight at least one more great will join the game's most exclusive club, the Immortals. Zach Bailey is at the SCG, and Zach, there's plenty of anticipation tonight.
There certainly is, Danika, especially for the man standing alongside me, Cameron Smith. Cam, welcome to what is a special night. Your name's been thrown up as a potential immortal tonight. What would that mean to you?
It's hard to describe, really. But you know what? I'm extremely honoured just to be in the conversation tonight with some very special people, some great rugby league players, all very deserving, if they are to be read out to be the next immortal tonight.
Okay, we'll have to wait and see whether you are going to be the next immortal. One thing we do know for sure is you're definitely a Hall of Famer. This is such a special night. We haven't had one for 6 years. Yeah. What does it mean to be here and be on the black carpet alongside some of the game's greats?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's a special night for our game. And, yeah, I'm very honoured to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, particularly with a group of guys that I played a lot of football with the Melbourne Storm, with Queensland, with Australia, and a couple of guys like Benji Marshall and Sam Burgess, who I played a lot of football against as well. So it's a huge honour, as I said. Spoke to a few of the other guys too, and they feel the same way. It's just a great night for the game.
Thanks for your time. Best of luck tonight.
Thank you, mate.
Danika, the anticipation is building here at the SCG. We cannot wait to see who the next NRL Immortal will be.
Looking forward to it. Enjoy your night, Zach. Well, there is an element of controversy clouding the occasion, with Immortal Andrew Johns slamming the NRL for their selection process. And he's not alone. Mal Meninga was also left out of the loop.
The Immortal debate is always a spicy one, but tonight a new twist. Blanket disappointment from the living Immortals, Wally Lewis, Mal Meninga and Andrew Johns. They're unhappy about the journalist-heavy judging panel that's picking the latest Immortal. Speaking on his digital program, Freddie and the Eighth, Johns, the eighth Immortal, has let his feelings be known.
You weren't told before this that you weren't going to be consulted with respect to who's to be inducted either?
No, not myself, not Wally, not Mal. Right. I know they're disappointed. It's disrespectful.
Joey says he had no idea that an Immortal would be chosen tonight.
I think it's disrespectful. I haven't had a phone call. Not one phone call about... Actually, on Monday, I didn't know there was another Immortal being inducted. I thought it was just a Hall of Fame. I got called Monday about my duties on Wednesday night, that I'll be up on stage for the announcement of an Immortal. I didn't even know there was going to be another Immortal inducted.
Wayne Bennett was a judge the last time the Immortals were chosen. He wasn't this time. He's decided not to attend tonight's event, even though he's being inducted into the Hall of Fame. The NRL says Sam Burgess will accept Bennett's award. Phil Gould has also been left off the judging panel, and iconic commentator Ray Warren was also snubbed as a judge.
Well, Rabs is disappointed. Rabs is very disappointed.
Danny Weidler, 9 News.
Nicho Hynes was moving freely at training today as he continues to recover from leg surgery. Without Hynes, plenty have questioned the Sharks' premiership credentials, but the players aren't listening to the criticism.
It doesn't bother me. Good on them.
I'm just here to play for my mates, play for my club, play for all the staff that work hard behind the scenes and all my coaching staff. That's all. Whatever anyone else says, good on them.
Cronulla face the Dragons on Sunday. The Seagulls are bracing for a hostile reception at Leichhardt Oval tomorrow night, but coach Anthony Seibold says Luke Brooks has nothing to worry about, confident he can handle the heat after Adam Dewey encouraged Tigers fans to boo him.
They'll probably give Brooks a reception. They probably gave him a bit of reception at times when he played for the club as well. But that's all part of this, part of the game. It's as long as it's done in the right way and in sort of that good-natured way.
A win would see Manly all but lock in their spot in the finals. Despite being given a leave of absence, the Latrell Mitchell photo scandal continues to loom large over the Rabbitohs, with captain Cameron Murray refusing to answer questions about his star fullback today.
I'll keep my opinion quiet, and the conversations I've had between me and Latrell, just out of respect for Latrell and everything he's gone through over the last couple of weeks.
Mitchell is set to front the South Sydney board over the incident. With a place in the top 4 locked in, the Giants say they've been treating the end of the season as a mini-final series, testing themselves against the AFL's best.
I guess we sort of looked at that as a positive. We're going to be really well conditioned by the time September comes around, and we're playing finals games before it even comes around. So we really like that and the way that sort of panned out for us.
GWS face Western Bulldogs on Sunday afternoon, who need to win to keep their season alive. The tennis world has been rocked by news that reigning Australian Open champion Jannik Sinner has failed 2 drug tests, but the world number 1 won't be banned. It's prompted debate around the world, with Nick Kyrgios coming out swimming.
Sinner by name, and in the minds of some, Sinner full stop. Jannik Sinner is at the centre of a drug storm, with revelations that he twice tested positive to the anabolic agent clostebol.
Everybody has to know that he had no part in this at all. He didn't elect to ingest anything, he didn't take any tablets, he didn't intend to cheat.
The Italian had successfully argued the substance entered his system via a massage from one of his support team, who'd earlier cut his finger and used the cream for treatment.
He's not guilty. He has been proven innocent by a board of 2 independents that have both said that there was not enough substance in his body to enhance any performance, and the substance being less than a billionth of a gram.
Nick Kyrgios was quick to insert himself in the narrative, posting on social media, "Ridiculous, whether it was accidental or planned. You get tested twice with a banned substance. You should be gone for 2 years. Your performance was enhanced. Massage cream? Yeah, nice."
He's not happy, but you have to actually take your time, read through all of the manuscripts, and then you see that the due diligence has been done.
Sinner hasn't got off completely scot-free. Ranking points earned at the ATP Masters in March, when the positive tests were returned, have been scrapped, and his more than $500,000 in prize money returned. In a statement, the 23-year-old said, "I will now put this challenging and deeply unfortunate period behind me." The crowd and his rivals at next week's US Open might not be as willing to simply move on. Tony Jones, 9 News.
Yeah, very interesting story there, Pete. Tomorrow night we'll be joining you live from all the footy action.
We look forward to it. Thank you, Danika. Next in 9 News, how to save hundreds a year on the subscriptions slowly draining your bank accounts. Why alcohol bans at popular Sydney parks have been lifted. And after 2 years of marriage, it's all over for benefit.
It may only be 12 points, but it's still a positive day for the ASX, and that now makes 9 days in a row, a winning streak longer than we've seen in years. Software business WiseTech was the standout after reporting a big rise in profit, while Domino's Pizza didn't impress investors with its profit numbers. The price of gold pushed to new highs above $2,500 an ounce. It means a standard gold bar is now worth a cool $1 million for the first time ever. And the Australian dollar touched its highest level in a month. It's buying 67 US cents, 60 euro cents and 52 British pence.
Thank you, Chris. You can now have a drink in more public places across the city of Sydney. The number of areas where alcohol is banned has been halved from 428 to 218. You can have a beer or wine in places such as Redfern Park, Waterloo Park and Glebes Wentworth Park. Hyde Park, Prince Alfred Park and Belmore Park, among others, are still alcohol free. 1 in 3 Australians are now cracking down on useless subscriptions, saving hundreds of dollars in the process. Products purchased once are now being bundled into ongoing payments that budgeting experts warn can be a trap.
A home-cooked meal, a workout on the exercise bike, TV and movies, even toilet paper and underwear. The subscription economy has now spread across almost everything.
It's absolutely a trap. Businesses love subscription models because once they've got your bank account details, they know they've got their hand in your back pocket, and many of us will just keep on paying whether we use the service or not.
But millions like Joshua Vanderleest are now fighting back. He's dumping as many subscriptions as possible.
Definitely noticing a difference. Some are fairly straightforward, but you have to know that you're subscribed to them to cancel them.
And there's money to be saved. NAB data shows Aussies who cut back on subscriptions tend to save $56 a month or upwards of $670 a year.
It used to be really hard to keep track of all of the things that you signed up for. Technology has definitely made that easier. So all banks will have some form of spending insights feature. We know ourselves that 1.5 million NAB customers have used that feature in the past year, and that's up 62%.
A lot of businesses are moving towards subscriptions. In fact, with some new cars, if you don't pay a monthly fee, the seat warmers won't work. And even though you buy a security camera like this one, you also need to pay a monthly subscription. It's all set to continue, so consumers are being told they've got to be careful.
The subscription economy is not going anywhere. It's the definition of a good business. It makes money while the business owner sleeps. And so we have to get used to it. It's unfortunately now on us to make sure we're getting value from our subscriptions.
Chris Kohler, 9 News.
It was a love story 20 years in the making, but after only 2 years of marriage, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have split. The Hollywood stars first got engaged in the early 2000s, but broke it off and went on to marry other people. They reconnected in 2021 and wed a year later. Lopez filing for divorce just weeks after their second wedding anniversary. Coming up in 9 News, Sophie with our weather.
Thank you, Pete. Mostly clear conditions tonight with light winds, just a 5% chance of a shower. It is still warm out there, currently 20 degrees in the city, 19 in the west. I've got your forecast after the break. Well, northwesterly winds eased off before lunchtime, making for a warm, sunny and calm Wednesday. The Parramatta River looking a picture as temperatures climbed into the mid-20s, reaching 26 degrees after lunch before clouds rolled in the afternoon. Penrith and Kellyville also peaked at 26. Cronulla slightly warmer, 27 degrees. Similar conditions at Liverpool and Blacktown. We had some light showers through the Riverina today. Everywhere else stayed pretty much dry. Newcastle and Wollongong reached 25 degrees. Tomorrow, unstable conditions will bring gusty showers to South Australia, Victoria, Tasmania and New South Wales, falling as snow on the Alps. High pressure will generate showers over Queensland's north coast while also directing dry heat into central regions. Warm conditions in Brisbane tomorrow, 27 degrees, a possible shower in Canberra and a top temp of 17. Showers easing off in Melbourne, 18 degrees. Adelaide heading for a high of 19, heavier falls in Perth and 22 degrees. Heading back to New South Wales, and there will be some isolated showers along the north coast tomorrow with the chance of thunderstorms through the Riverina, dry and partly cloudy in central and northwestern areas. Daytime temperatures again will be above average. In Sydney, a mostly cloudy morning tomorrow with a slight chance of a shower before a mostly sunny afternoon. Cooler than today, heading for a high of 22 degrees. Another mild night on the way, dipping to 14 degrees. Light to moderate west-northwesterly winds. Cooler through the suburbs too. Penrith, Parramatta, Liverpool and Campbelltown all heading for 21 degrees. There is a 20% chance of a shower, but it will be light. Blacktown will be slightly warmer. Cronulla heading for 20 degrees with light winds after a low of 15 tonight. Mostly sunny on Friday, then a shower or two Saturday before a warm streak arrives. 26 degrees on Sunday, blue skies and 25 degrees Monday. Fine conditions Tuesday and Wednesday, 27 degrees. Overnight temps ranging from 10 to 17 degrees. And in the west, mostly sunny and 23 on Friday. Gusty showers on Saturday, up to 4 millimetres expected. Warm and partly cloudy on Sunday. Monday morning will feel balmy, 17 degrees before a high of 26. Clear conditions on Wednesday, 27 degrees. Pete, spring is just around the corner.
It is. Sophie, thank you. Ali is next with the current affair. That is 9 News for this Wednesday. I'm Peter Overton. I hope you have a good evening. From all of us, good night.